want to provide an update as we're hearing now from officials about multiple explosions in Clinton Township, Michigan, just outside of Detroit there in the suburbs. Of course, one man was killed after debris was thrown about a quarter of a mile in distance. This was the scene last night, as you can see high above our Fox 2 team there in Detroit covering it as a fire leading to an explosion. Investigation now underway as those explosions rocked that township, a building on Monday night, destroying it, sending metal flying up to a mile away. Officials holding a press conference today. We're going to get to that in a little bit, but this was the scene last night. And of course, you can see some of the debris early this morning, just what those fire and explosion did to that building. Of course, there were some questions and concern about different products that were stored or illegally stored at that building, like nitrous oxide and butane. So you can see some of these explosions there caught on camera from some distance away. And of course, one man was killed. For more on this, let's take you out to officials there just outside of Detroit as they provide an update.
Fully investigating, trying to figure out what they actually had on site, the quantities, so on and so forth. So still way too early to exactly speak intelligently on that. So we're waiting to gather information through the building department, our ATF allies, state allies, and our local people to basically get to the bottom of it. So rest assured it will be done, and it's going to be done in a hopefully timely fashion.
Chief, what comes next in this process throughout the rest of the day today and then into the night with just cleanup and investigation?
The biggest thing tonight is the securing the area. Like Supervisor Cannon and everybody else has said, is keeping the public away. We did have to take the step to have some of our police presence over there. Obviously, you can't control all the time a vast area like we're talking about. You got two major intersections there, people coming in from all over the place. We'd highly suggest that people take the advice and stay away. From there, we have the scene, hopefully as locked down as we can tonight, and then tomorrow morning early, the ATF team, state, and the local fire prevention division have met this afternoon. They got a game plan in place to go ahead and move forward. Chances are there's going to have to be some heavy machinery out there at some point to start doing this, but they got to move with caution because they're essentially still putting themselves in harm's way. It's a static, not a static scene, but very dynamic scene. So even with them stepping through, they have to watch out every step they take. So obviously, if we're taking that amount of caution, the public certainly needs to take that amount of caution.
And sir, what's the timeline for when we could possibly get a cause and how this all?
This could be several days. Obviously, they're going to take samples of whatever they have, that they come across. Usually, sometimes the state will bring in some of the dogs to kind of just sniff that out. So we have a great working relationship with them. Certainly, I authorize them to come in full bore. We don't want to, turn down any opportunity to have help. So they're very gracious, and they're willing to come in and help out. And I think they're ready to take control and help us out, which is going to be a great learning experience for our community also. So as you know, we don't come across this stuff all that often.
Well, how did you manage all the huge flood of 911 calls? And did you guys run into any hiccups?
So fortunately for our community, we're aligned with Comtech, which is part of the dispatch center throughout Macomb County. They pretty much control about half of the county. Without that, on a local level, if we were still doing it ourselves, it would be nearly impossible. One person could never handle that. They're pros at what they do. They can handle an immense amount of phone calls that come in. This would be similar in nature to a pretty major storm that would come through. You're getting calls in the hundreds. And they have the personnel that are capable of handling that, disseminating the information that needs to go out, and turning that on to with the people that you need to respond to it. So we really didn't experience much issue. Very good with our battalion chief that was on scene last night. Things were controlled. I said I'm exceptionally proud of our people, the people that came in and helped from the other communities. So it's chaos, but it was controlled chaos, basically through the efforts of the people on scene.
For a point of clarity, is your department in the lead? Is ATF in the lead?
So we will still remain in the lead. They are always coming in as an assist. So they're, like I said, they're gracious enough to come in and give us their experience. We do interact with the state numerous times, even on basic house fires, because they're always learning. They're bringing some of their people in. It's always a turnover of personnel, so any chance they get to learn, they're helping out. So it's nice, and sometimes we'll get nearby communities that will bring their personnel over on site, along with some of the newer dogs that are trained to do this kind of thing. So You know, it's definitely a good outreach, great from a regional perspective that we get all this help. Like I said, one department cannot do this on their own.
And if you would, to a layperson, what are the priorities as you go tomorrow and the next day in regard to beyond safety, but what are the challenges when you look at what you've seen and what you're going to be dealing with, trying to reconstruct where this may have originated from, those types of things, but how do you approach this tomorrow?
So they have a pretty good understanding of where they're going to start the process. They've been doing this for a number of years, so they do have a specific part of the building that they feel they're going to start. Basically, you know, step one, and then from there, you know, they recreate the scene. You're going to be starting to pull things back. You recreate what you think happened, and then obviously with some of the information you get from the people that were in the building, you're going to get little clips. So the biggest part is about kind of clearing everything out, recreating what you can, putting it back together as much as you possibly can. So like you had a typical house fire, you're trying to recreate the room, trying to, you know, pattern what's happening. There's certain patterns that happen. Not a lot of this building left, so it's going to be hard work for the people that are on scene there, certainly. But we have the pros. We have the federal people that do this day in and day out, and so certainly this is going to be a huge effort to determine this.
My last question, if I may, I mean, given the intensity of this and how long you first responders had to wait, I mean, is there much of a scene left to recreate?
Well, surprisingly amazing what they can do. They got technology on their side. You know, they're going to obviously have video that's occurred throughout the night. They're going to obviously access everything they have, capability to see that. So they'll see how this thing evolved. They'll see how it developed. So some smart people out there, far smarter than me. I, you know, take my hats off to them, the ladies and gentlemen that do this kind of stuff. So I'm encouraged that, you know, they'll hopefully come to some type of resolution, but as we all know, sometimes you get to the end of it and you just shake your head and go, we may never know. But certainly every effort will be put in place to try to determine this.
Having said that, do you anticipate that there was a fire and then the explosion, or the explosion caused the fire?
Right now, it's just still too early to tell. You know, like I said, some of it's going to be based upon the information we glean from the people that were in the building at the time. So that'll be a huge step, you know, to determining some of that.
Chief, can you discuss the notion of the fact that more people were injured? I mean, when you look at what was happening out there, it was tragic that this young man died and your firefighter was hurt. But it's staggering that no other people were injured.
Oh, unbelievably so. You know, like I said earlier today, the fact, you know, once I got home and got to digest for a few minutes, just the enormity of the situation and what everybody was, you know, tasked with, it basically was a war zone. You had shrapnel going off everywhere you looked. So if you're standing outside, you're wondering, when's the next piece coming at my way? When's it going to hit us? It's hitting our vehicles. As we're in vehicles, it's careening off of them. We had a number of, obviously, our fire engines and police vehicles that were hit. So even no matter how much effort you take, we've got helmets on, we've got gear on. If that thing's coming, going to hit you in the face, hit you in the chest, hit you somewhere in the body, you're going to suffer some severe consequences. So I don't think we think about it right up front. We're trained to do some dangerous things. I think it's when you take the step back later in the evening or at night that it overcomes you. You really look, and thank God that we had nobody injured from ours. You know, we did have the one firefighter that was injured, but fortunately he got checked out rapidly by the hospital. They took care of him really good. And unfortunately we had the one, you know, person pass away. But the fact that there was no other major injury or, you know, somebody passing on that scene, somebody was looking out for us. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Okay, we are in a local state of emergency. So as soon as we're done here, the two chiefs have indicated to me that it's safe to open up all of our roads. So 15 Mile will be open for the balance of the investigation.
Thank you.
All right, you're just listening in there to officials in Clinton Township talking about those that video is certainly wild, and they were talking about just the safety measures in place after those explosions, the fire that led to those explosions, potentially those buildings containing some contaminants, some materials that they should not have been having. And of course, the one individual that was killed was a quarter of a mile away, was killed when a piece of metal struck them. So, of course, very tragic story there overnight in Michigan.